Good morning or good afternoon, as it is now. Just as confirmation, my name is John McDougall. I'm one of the directors of CEED, and I'd like to welcome you to this today, which is the latest in the series of CEED annual lunches, which has now, I think, become quite a fixture in the Scottish business calendar, so thank you very much for coming along. 2012 has been a great year for CEED, and I think it's fair to say that great year has been based on the solid foundation of success in the last few years. And I would say that there's a few major reasons for that. One of the major reasons, in my opinion, for the continually growing popularity of CEED is that the CEED clinic subject matter, the clinics, of course, are the main offering that CEED has, but the CEED clinic subject matter is determined by the members of CEED, so it's determined by you. So it's always the right stuff that we're talking about. And CEED is also a forum where practitioners talk to other practitioners. So if you think about it, it's quite simple, really. I mean, it's the right people talking about the right things, so it's bound to be successful, really. A few facts and figures about 2012, because I think everybody that's been involved in CEED has been quite proud of the year 2012 and what it's meant to us. We now have 120 member companies, which is up 25% compared to last year, compared to 2011. So a 25% growth in the space of 12 months. CEED itself now has a stable financial position, and much more importantly than that, we've had an independent analysis done in the last 12 months, and that shows that CEED activities have led to our member companies showing incremental growth. That's growth in addition to what would otherwise have occurred, and reductions in their cost bases. These things have been driven by CEED activities, by attendance at CEED events, and from the learning at CEED events. So we've come a long way in the past 12 months, but in 2013 we're going to grow even further, and we're going to add even more value to our members.
The good news, Jill asked me to say a little bit about how I see the economic context of this meeting, and well, it's of course a mixed picture, but there's no shortage of bad news. You couldn't say otherwise in the month after 2,500 jobs were lost in the Scottish economy. Halls of Broxburn, Freshlink, Comet, ATH Mining, also, but on the other hand, 1,200 jobs were created. Including a company that I think is, you probably know it, you probably had the app on your phones for longer than I have. Skyscanner just opened a new office, for example. That seems to me a company that is shaping up to be Scotland's next global consumer brand, and it's a very long time since we've had one. There are others, including 3 Mobile, who've added jobs here. So the evidence on the economy is kind of patchy, as I said, but it seems to me, and I'd love to hear your views on this, that we have turned a corner. We had a better than expected 1% jump in the last quarter. 1% not that exciting perhaps, but still. The business survival rate in Scotland has taken an upward turn. Data from accountants and bankruptcy showed a sharp fall in the number of Scots companies going under. That's a fall from a very high rate, but still. Only 274 companies went under in the third quarter, and that is down 35% on the previous 3 months, and is 24% lower than the same figure last year.
You know, I bought into Clyde Blowers. That was the smallest of 8 companies in the world doing what it did. It had 3% share of its world market. And between 92 and 97, we bought 6 of the remaining 7. We started off with one company with 7 competitors in the world, and we ended up with one company with 1 competitor in the world, and we went from 3% market share to 60%. Now, to me, it was just a case of, this is a textbook MBA exercise. There's fragmentation in the market. There's an opportunity for consolidation. What do you need to do to consolidate it? Now, to start out, I was looking to pick up 2 or 3 of those companies, maybe get the market share up to 20%, maybe 25%. But I went to see them all. I spoke to them all, told them what my plan was, and eventually, over a 5-year period, managed to buy them all. But it was just very focused planning, clear goals, a clear vision of what we wanted to do, and in that case, exceeded the vision, because I didn't expect to get so many of them. And that's, that's how we grew the first phase of Clyde Blowers. It was on the market, it was on the stock market. I owned initially 29.9% of it. And when we got to the end of the 90s, the market took a bit of a turn down, very similar to what it's been recently. And that resulted in the share price going to a quarter of what it had been 3 months earlier. Now, the company was doing very well. It was growing each year, 30 to 40%. And the market was clearly dysfunctional. Because it was a small company, big fears because of the financial crisis in Southeast Asia, and the investors in small companies were just dumping the stock. And that was dumping the price. Now, I thought after getting over the initial shock that we would just get the head down and get on with it, but that wasn't going to work, because customers were noticing this drop in price and were associating the drop in price in the stock market with the quality or the performance or something being wrong with the business. Now, I managed to get one customer who was going to cancel an order and get it reinstated, but it made me start to think, I need to do something about this, because if I don't, it's going to become self-fulfilling. And some smart guy in the city of London is going to say, see, the market is efficient. It knew that was the value of the business. And I wasn't going to let that happen. So we took the company private. I then had a model of splitting the company up into 2 or 3. We eventually got to 3 businesses. And we were funding them, myself and 3 partners that work with me. We were funding the majority share, and we were looking for co-investment partners and the other to take a minority share. And I had this model in my mind that I would have 6 or 7, maybe 8 maximum companies in a portfolio, all at different stages of development, and eventually sell one off or list it and bring another one in at the beginning. And in my model, every year there would be a nice liquidity event that would give me a big capital gain, and it would be perfect. But it didn't quite work out like that, because we were dealing on a deal-by-deal basis on these businesses. The maximum we could get up to was 3, because the co-investment partners were different in each one, and each one wanted 100% of my time on what they were invested in. They didn't want me looking at anything else. I managed to convince them that I could give a significant majority of my time to 3 businesses, but it was a bit of a stretch after that.
So what we do essentially is we work with companies such as these, so large electronic manufacturing companies, and essentially the main service that we offer them is that we help them to manage their supply chain a little better. When you're making electronic products, whether it be iPads, phones, all the way up to radar systems, it's a constantly evolving product. So there's always surplus stock comes out the back end of that. As you redesign and renew and come out with a new version of a product, there's components that are left over, and the quantities end up quite huge. In some of these organisations that are making billions of dollars from a single plant, the numbers really stack up quite high. One of the Jabil plants we work in at the moment is doing 4 billion turnover, and roughly 1% of the turnover sits typically in excess and redundant components. So it's our job to find a new home for those components and return that cash back to our client companies. what we've developed with the help of some of the lessons we've learned by visiting the larger organisations, as a small business we recognised quite quickly that we didn't have strong enough systems and processes in place. And we've really gone quite bananas with this stuff. It's lessons learned, visiting factories where they've got all the measures on the wall, and we've taken it to new levels. We're literally measuring everything we do in every single department. Every click of a button's now being captured automatically. There's no effort in creating any of the charts, but we can literally look at everything that we do, everything our people do, and everything our people do within our client organisations, because we've got people all over the world effectively working for us now. So, at a glance, we can see who's performing, who's not. We've got alerts that just pop up on the screen to tell a manager that there's an issue in this area or that area, and they can then address that. So it's fantastic for our people as well, because they can see themselves. They actually start to manage themselves to a large degree, because they can see how they're performing. It's very obvious when you start to fall behind. This chap here on the far left last week was falling behind, and there might be good reason for that, but it allows the manager to address that very simply. But as I say, in most cases, people are addressing that for themselves.
A little bit about Peak and what we do. This is our manufacturing site in Shinnon, behind the airport, next to Life Technologies and Reeke's and other people, Rolls-Royce. Our products, what we do is we make gas systems. Instead of having a cylinder of gas from BOC or Air Products, we've got one of our little boxes. You can plug it in and it will produce very high purity nitrogen, hydrogen, zero air and other things. When I started this idea back in the late 80s, we were so far ahead of actually the market. The market eventually has now caught up with us, which has been good. We are a small company in Scotland. We now employ 200 people. And our biggest challenge was, how do we actually win over these type of guys to actually want to come to Scotland and buy product from us? Almost like, where's Glasgow, let alone, who's Peak Scientific? Combination of, good Scotch whisky, golf courses at abound, and some fantastic products. I've got my engineering director in here today, and Russell, production engineer. They've done a fantastic job in designing systems for these guys. In the last 2 years, we've opened up our own offices around the world. We've got now 12 staffed offices with Peak people around the world, and these are increasing. Japan was a couple of weeks ago, started off with one person. In America, in Boston office, we've got 20. In Shanghai, we've got 10, and we're increasing that number. Over the next 12 months, we're going to go from 200 people. We're going to add another 50 to 60 people, probably 70% of them are going to be in the UK and 25% overseas. This I wanted to put up. This is just, we are very proud of our culture and our ethos at Peak, and people who will go around the business will see there's a real sense of fun, excitement, enjoyment in the business. People will wander around and say, does any work get done in here? As they're playing table tennis or pool or having cups of coffee. Not Starbucks. Here in Life Technology, you've got Starbucks, but no Starbucks in our place. But really, the important thing is engaging with these people and creating a sense of fun rather than having a sense of management and employee. We don't have hierarchical things, and the old engineering of the past in Scotland has got to go and be replaced by a much more enthusiastic, exciting place. I think we've tried to do that in our place pretty successfully. Why CEED? I was very skeptical last year. Chris Pugh, our engineering director, had come back and said, it's a wonderful organisation, CEED. You need to meet this lady called Jill. She's fantastic. She's got all these ideas of what we're doing. And I was really pleased that, one, not speaking to accountants, speaking to people that actually knew what they'd done, people that had made mistakes. We've all made mistakes. And the more mistakes you make, the better you are. And therefore, learning from people's mistakes and otherwise, the factory trips, the networking, the continuous learning, and also the fact is we can never learn enough. So learning from your peers has been a huge plus. So thank you very much to CEED. And anyone who's not a member of CEED, have a good think about it. Thank you. Cheers.
So first of all, my name's Rodney. The Mitsubishi Electric Air Conditioning Systems Europe is the name of the company, but we just call ourselves MX because that's too big to get on your business cards. We've only got a few minutes, so first of all, who are we? What do we do? A bit about our culture. Being a Japanese company based in Scotland, quite interesting. And a little bit about our relationship with CEED. That's our group companies there. We're part of Mitsubishi Electric Group, and within that division, there's a group called the Living Digital Media Systems Group. We currently have 5 companies manufacturing air conditioning and heat pumps in the world. And you can see here that Mitsubishi Electric is based in Scotland, based in China. We also have 4,000 people making air conditioning systems. In Thailand, we have about 2,500 people making air conditioning systems. In Japan, about 3,500 people, and in 500 people, modestly, in Scotland. A little bit about our culture. We are a Japanese plant manufacturer in Scotland, and I get often asked, what's the difference, what's the difficult as a Japanese company? And the best way I can describe the culture is this. Most of us have wandered into a chip shop after a couple of bevies, and there's a big sign on the counter that says, caution, hot surface, do not touch. A Japanese guy would read that sign and never touch it. What does a Scottish guy do? You know right away, he puts his hand on it and shouts something like, oh yeah, bugger, as if the guy who put the sign up was telling a lie. That's the most important difference. But our culture, to put that in a business context, we challenge everything. And one of the most difficult things that the Japanese find in the Scottish culture is that the Japanese are a very standardised based organisation, and everything is defined and everybody follows it. Scottish people don't follow anything. They challenge everything. They challenge everything that we do. And the question is always, as an organisation, what do you get from it? What do you actually get from it? This is some of the things that I've asked some of the players who have went out to the organisations. I've asked them, how did you feel when you went to, what did you get as a benefit? Spotted some great safety documentation, already implemented it. The work instruction presentation was excellent, have already trialled it and looked to expand it into other areas. The methods of communication, information and meetings is higher than us. We need to look to ways to grasp that. The materials management method was an eye-opener, make good contact and now discussing. We've also made some good relationships with Philips, Alexander Dennis and Lynn Products. And like all organisations here, we're adverse to plagiarising everything we possibly can to improve our organisation. What do we like about free events? Are informal, allowing easy communications, access to many other companies available, personal contacts are made, and the best practice can be seen. And what we're doing for it, we're expanding the knowledge, we're expanding the situations where we can get our new ideas, creating a flexible forum for discussion. The team that we have is becoming more of a team, and we're giving a lot of internal training and know-how. So again, thank you very much, CEED, for access to that.